Our guest on the show today is Samuel Adaramola. He's from Nigeria and has lived in the U.S. for about 25 years as a first-generation American. Sam is currently a user experience designer, and like many American Africans, Sam's experience is one that straddles the cultural lines, and through his experiences, he's discovered that the road to the American dream isn't always as easy as one would think or hope. Sam, welcome to the Immigrant Experience with Nenelwa.
Hey, Nenelwa. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I'm so happy we were able to get you on the show. So, Sam, we're going to start off kind of hearing a bit about your background. Can you talk to us about where home is for you and just kind of give us a visual of that landscape, what that looks like?
Where home is for me? Well, as you mentioned, I was born in Nigeria, but I cannot really consider that home, being as though I was raised in America. I came to the country when I was 2. I was brought here at that early age. So and I haven't been to Nigeria since due to a lot of immigration related things. And we'll certainly talk about that later on. But, you know, if you drop me in Nigeria, I wouldn't know what to do with myself unless I had, a family member, unless I had a family member with me to show me around and, show me how to do things. So what I do consider home right now would be Prince George's County, Maryland, which is where I've lived all my life.
Excellent. So was that community?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, so is that community in Prince George's County, is that a community of other Nigerians, Africans? Is it predominantly African-American? What is the community that you've been a part of in your upbringing here in the United States?
Well, Prince George's County is really, really has a high population of Nigerians. Just being raised here, there's no shortage of running into a Nigerian. They have, mom and pop shops, international food stores, many churches here that are Nigerian based. I have a lot of family that are here. So, getting that Nigerian culture, although I wasn't raised in Nigeria, I did have that experience of being around Nigeria, and that's something that I've been with all of my life. So I'm very familiar with the culture and customs of being Nigerian. It's just that I wasn't raised there.
Gotcha. So when did you arrive to the United States?
I arrived, you're making me do math now.
You can do a guesstimate. A guesstimate works.
I believe it was like, it was 1990, 91. My first place of dwelling was in New York, Brooklyn, New York. I was actually brought by a friend of the family. My father was already here, and but he didn't know I was coming, and it was just a big surprise. But I stayed with my uncle in Brooklyn, New York for a few years, and then we came to D.C. and then came to PG County, like really subsequently, like right after. And yeah.
Wow. So you left young enough where you wouldn't. No,
I was just going to say that I guess it's that cliche, being that New York was that first place I went to, with the whole Statue of Liberty, welcoming immigrants and everything. I guess I started the immigrant dream by having New York be that first place for me.
Excellent. And that's what I was going to say. It was just that you sounded like you came in pretty young, so there weren't necessarily initial impressions of the U.S. because this sounds like it was such a large part of your foundation and who you are because you spent a lot of your time here in the U.S.
Yeah, I don't recall my impressions, but my uncle will always tell me that, because we came, I believe, in December, and it was really cold, and, of course, coming from Africa, that's going to be a shock to your system. But my uncle will always tell me that I will always say, Mamuti, like I always wanted tea to drink because I wanted to be warm, and I will always want tea. And he will always tell me stories of him, because he was a teacher at the time, and he would go with I guess his colleagues, and he had one in particular who helped him gather a bunch of winter clothes and jackets and scarves and gloves for me, and he would always tell me about her. So I know from those stories that it was an adjustment for me even as a child, especially coming into cold weather like that I knew it was just a different and strange place for me.
Right. So now that you kind of reflect on that and the two cultures kind of coinciding, especially with where you live and where you've grown up, can you talk about what you think you might have inherited subconsciously from your culture?
What I might have inherited subconsciously. I don't even know. Maybe, I don't know. I think subconsciously I may have inherited just the, how do you call it? Is it patriarchy? A patriarchy system of respect to men of the household? That's a tough question. It's a really good question, something that I want to ponder on, but I've never really thought about that, what I've inherently or subconsciously inherited from being Nigerian. But I think
totally okay.
The whole I'm sorry?
I said that's totally okay. It's just something to reflect on.
Yeah, definitely.
So how has your impression or experience in the United States changed over time, if at all? Because you might not have had those expectations when you got here.
Yeah, I didn't have those expectations, but I have a unique story, being as though, like, I just told you I've been here for 25 years, but I've only been a green card holder for going on 1.5 years. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, are you familiar with the DREAM Act?
I am, but can you please explain it a little bit for our listeners who might not be as familiar?
Well, the DREAM Act was an act that has been back and forth in Congress, and it's basically giving undocumented immigrants, especially young children or young students, a path to citizenship. So if you were brought to the United States when you were a child and you're undocumented, it would have provided you a path to citizenship. I would have been a beneficiary of it. It still hasn't passed through Congress, but I share the same story as a lot of other people, and majority the Latin American community who were brought here at a young age and had no idea that they were undocumented until they were asked something related to Social Security or something to do with applying for work. Or when you want to start your life as an adult, that's when you find out your status. And for me, that happened when I was in high school, getting ready for college. I ran track in college, and I was getting scouted by Division II, Division III schools for to apply for scholarships and have an athletic scholarship. And if I can recall correctly, there's a process and a form that you have to fill out for collegiate eligibility. And one of the forms is they have a place in the form where you have to provide your Social Security number. I did not know what that was. I did not know what it was. I haven't been questioning of what it is. And, and then in asking my parents, and that's when everything began. Like, you're not documented. And it took that happening for them to start the process of filing for me to get a green card. And it was a long process. Wow. I'm still just processing that. You just recently received your green card and you've been here for a while now. So can you talk about how just your status in and of itself impacted your college experience? Because now we know that you were scouted for your skills in track and field, and then you were obviously subsequently ineligible because of your status. So how did you end up going to college, or how did you navigate that process? Well, as soon as my father started filing for me, they give you a work permit. And that work permit allows you to get a Social Security number because, of course, when you work, you're paying taxes, and Uncle Sam needs to track you down. And the best way to do it is with your Social Security number. So the work permit allowed me to get a conditional Social Security number, which only made it valid for work only. So I was able to work, and I didn't go to school. Everything that's going on, I didn't go to school right after high school because, of course, I was dealing with all of that. So I started working. My first job was at Starbucks, and I started working, and I said, okay, all my friends are in school. You know, I wanted to make it happen. I wanted to be the first one in my family because I'm not just first generation living in America. I would have been first generation college educated as well. So I wanted to make it happen. So I started going to the community college, Prince George's County Community College. I started going to those, taking class there. But because I wasn't documented and didn't have a green card, I was classified as an international student. Crazy, because I've been here most of my life, and to be identified as an international student, it is true. I am an international student. I wasn't born in America, but all my education was done in America, and then to be called an international student and then pay like almost 4 times the tuition
amount.
It was crazy, and I wanted to make it happen. So I just took one class a semester. I was using what I earned at Starbucks to help pay for it. I did a monthly payment plan to kind of soften the blow of the amount. My parents helped when they could, but it was just a journey I really had to take on myself. So I did about 2 years at PG. At that slow pace, I was able to take enough credits it was 15 credits that I earned, and that was enough to transfer to a school. I only had one school I wanted to go to, which was Towson University, and that's the only school I applied to. And I applied and I got in, but I wasn't paying international fees on going to Towson because I had to pimp the system a little bit, for my advantage. But it turns out if you're not asking for financial aid, they don't really care your status. So kind of just check the mark. Yeah, I was a Maryland citizen. I was a Maryland resident, and I had my driver's license to prove that. And so I paid in-state tuition.
What a blessing. And
with no financial aid, no scholarship. But what happened was, I was just working. Actually, I wasn't working. When I did get into Towson, they denied my application, and they actually put me on deportation.
Wait,
so
what?
They put me on deportation because they denied my application. There was something that couldn't be proven there. Meanwhile, backtracking a little bit, when I found out all of my status in high school, that was around the same time my mother, she had gotten gangrene, the blood flow to her leg, and she had to get a foot amputated, and that's when we found out she was a diabetic. So going through all that, going through immigration stuff, dealing with all that, so much changed. So when they denied my application, of course that's daunting. It's very scary to think that you're going to be deported, but I was lucky to find out that deportation isn't instant. And so when we found out they denied it, we had to lawyer up, get a good lawyer. And throughout my college experience, like I would say once a semester, I was going to the immigration court, find out if I would be deported or not. And my lawyer was good enough and savvy enough to always buy time, to always, what's this word I'm looking for? Not adjourn, but just to buy time. So he always bought the time just so we can build my case. And, to not get deported, you can apply for a cancellation of removal. That's something. And a cancellation of removal is to prove that when you've been in the United States for 15 years without going outside of the country. That was easy for me. I had the school records to prove that. 2, you wouldn't, I believe you don't have a criminal record, like nothing outside of a misdemeanor. I'm a good guy, so I didn't have that issue. And I may be missing one, but the most important one was you had to prove that your deportation will cause cruel and unusual hardship for a U.S. citizen spouse or parent or child, U.S. citizen or a green card holder. My mother became disabled due to the diabetes, getting her leg amputated. My first semester at college, my dad had a stroke, and that made him partially disabled too, his whole left side. So my father is a naturalized citizen. My mother is a green card holder. So my lawyer used my parents as build my case as if I leave this country, it'll cause cruel and unusual hardship for both of my parents. So that was the case that we had to build upon in order to make me have status in this country. And I have a funny sense of humor because that happened to my parents. And the only reason I wasn't deported is kind of really, you just have to look at God and be like, you have a funny sense of humor. You really do. I would be in Nigeria right now, sadly, if my parents weren't disabled, which is kind of crazy to say. But there's a really strange silver lining in there. But you know, that's how I got there. Like the day that I went to court, this is the final bout. This is the hearing that, okay, Sam, you're leaving or you're staying. Yeah, I went to court. You know, my position testified on behalf. And the moment that they saw my parents, both my parents' names, you know, walking in, you can just see countenance of the judge's face change. Like, there's no way I could send this boy to Nigeria.
Right.
It was even to the point where the prosecuting lawyer, the government appointed lawyer that they used to prosecute me, she was even saying that she was in my favor to the point where she said, okay, normally if they granted me the citizenship there, I would have had to wait like another few months to get, I would have to wait because they have a limited amount of waivers that they give a year, and they've already had to use that amount up. So I would have had to wait another year before I can even apply, you know, after being granted a stay. So she even said, how about we just do this? How about we take the original application that they denied that put me on deportation and just approve it? And the judge agreed, and they expedited my stay. So that's God having a funny sense of humor, man. That's incredible. So that is my experience as an immigrant in this country, because, you know, even going through, this was from 2005 until 2014. So that's 9 years of dealing with the process of immigration. That's 9 years of disappointment, and that's 9 years of just unstatus and just being completely scared and not knowing what to do. Because all of my time in college, I couldn't work because when you're deported, they take away your work permit. I couldn't work, and that's how this and now. That's how I was, DJing, and we were throwing parties in school as Tag Sounds and doing those events. That wasn't just for social status and to be cool. That paid rent.
Really? Are you sure?
Yeah. That went towards school payment. That helped me stay afloat. So, it built so much character because, I felt as though, God is doing all this for a reason, and I'm not going to succumb to it. It was challenging. It was very, very challenging. There's many moments I just broke down, having to deal with that on top of my parents' disability and on top of going to school and making that happen.
Right.
But, everything happens for a reason. So, I finally got my green card. Yeah, finally got it.
Wow.
And, I will just apply for naturalization when I guess it's 4 years or 3 years or whatever the time is. I'm going to apply for it and just become a naturalized citizen because I deserve it. Damn it.
You sure do. After all of those trials and tribulations you faced. Wow, what a story. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, you talked about a lot of things that I want to draw from, but one in particular, and you mentioned it a little bit, but it was just, how did you process that? Like, were you ever scared? I mean, you mentioned it a little bit, but like, you sound so confident about it now, and you're just kind of, sharing the story. But I mean, in the moment, to have the threat of deportation, to have your parents falling ill and having to kind of take care of them at the same time, thinking about college and your social network and just all of these other layers, how did you overcome that? I guess, what was your solace in that time period to get through it? Like, what got you through? I think that's just, I'm in awe of that,
Well, it's a lot of things that get you through it, and it wasn't an easy journey. It was, there was many times, like I expressed, I broke down and just was like, what's going on? There's many, like, wall punching, paper throwing. There's a lot of that,
Right.
There's many times I vented, but one thing that I can really say is that I had great friends, two in particular who I can name, Claude McCoy, who we started tag together, and my other best friend, Leslie Afola, and they were like rocks for me in terms of always keeping my head up and just maintaining positive. And, you know, they were good. My parents, man, for them to go through what they went through. Right. And my mom, she on top of becoming an amputee, she dealt with other complications with diabetes, you know, kidney failure, and now she does dialysis 3 times a week. And, you know, and my dad, you know, his life just changed, just becoming, you know, disabled. He can't work again. But they have such a strong mind. My mom, she's just super positive. Like, she's a stereotypical African mother, Christian African mother, always relying on God. And she lives and breathes by the word. My dad is a little bit more progressive. He's like, I liken him to like a Nigerian hippie, because he's into like yoga and meditation and, you know, power of affirmations and things like that. So like, but they both have a very, very strong positive mind, and they always look at the bright side. And just being around my friends like I had, and being around parents like I had, and just having creative outlets too. Like in while I was in college, you know, I was part of a African Diaspora Club, which is an African student organization. Just being involved in that and other campus activities to just keep my head off of things, off of the negative things that were going on. Just staying busy like that and staying creative like that helped me to keep going. Because if I didn't have any of those things going on, all I would think about was this problem I was facing. But, you know, being involved in school, having good parents, having good friends, starting tag, throwing the parties that we did, it always kept my mind on other things. And the only time I really thought about my immigration issue was when it was time to pay my lawyer, or when it was time to meet my lawyer, or when it was time to go to court. Right. And that's when those realities set in, and I would become scared. The day of that final hearing, you know, I was very scared. But at the same time, I was like, going to Nigeria won't be that bad. At least I'll go with a degree.
Right.
I'll be able.
At least you can eat fresh fufu every day.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and I started like later on during the process, I started thinking to myself, why am I treating this like a death sentence? Like, going to Nigeria could be where I'm meant to be. Going to Nigeria could be where will have the most impact. That should be where my life will begin. So it may not be bad. Yes. It's just scary thinking about just completely. This is home for me, you know, like we first discussed. You know, just leaving home and not leaving home on your own accord, and not being sure you'll be able to come back, and leaving my parents in their condition, not knowing how to take care of them the best way I can from Nigeria. And those are the scary parts. But I never felt it was a death sentence, and I started to be like, to treat it that way, that it wasn't a death sentence later on. You know, like I expressed, the scary thing was just having to abandon everything that I've built and grown into living here in America.
Wow. So how did you transition into the job that you are currently in right now? And was that process difficult for you, or was it pretty easy streamlining into that process, into that experience?
Well, like a lot of people find out after graduating college that college really didn't teach you anything. I'm joking, but I'm really joking. But maybe some slightly joking, slightly. But my experience after graduating was that I was fortunate to get into a job that people would kill to have in my major. I studied advertising and public relations in college, and I minored in film. And upon graduating, having had a few lesser positions here and there, I finally was able to get a job at Ogilvy and Mather, which is a big-time advertising and public relations company. It's international. They have offices in every continent in this world. So, you know, I began working in Ogilvy and Mather. And I quickly learned that I didn't enjoy what I was doing. And what I learned in college, you know, being creative and one thing I missed out on in telling the story is like I learned how to be creative in college in terms of, learning graphic design, teaching myself. When we were throwing these parties, you need a nice flyer. And being broke, you couldn't pay anybody for those flyers. So I remember the day I learned how to do flyers, I sat in our school library and watched a YouTube tutorial for like 8 hours and designed our first party flyer. And I kind of like stuck at it. And I really, really enjoyed that aspect of college, teaching myself design and using that. And, when I'm working at Ogilvy, I was a digital producer, and I was doing a lot of project management-based stuff. There's very little creativity involved in it in terms of actually technical creativity. The creativity involved is trying to figure out how to make a certain budget work within a certain scope of work, or how to get a designer to do something that you need them to do. It's just crisis management for the most part, and I didn't enjoy that. It wasn't for me. I was a hands-on person, and I like being hands-on, and I like learning things and using what I've learned to create. So I transitioned into UX design after contemplating how I wanted to enter the creative industry. And UX design is something that's fairly new, but, something that I saw myself doing, and that's what I've transitioned to. So, and I transitioned by a similar strength of how I learned how I learned in college. It was just looking at tutorials and doing work on my own, collaborating with other creative people, and doing those type of things. So, yeah. And also, as a hobby, I like filmmaking. So I'm trying to see how I will end my career. I want to end working in the film industry. I know that's my end goal for sure. It's just, it's a cutthroat industry, and you can't really go into it without, how can I say this? You can't go into it blindly. You have
to prepare yourself.
You have to build a network, really. That's what it really is. You have to build a network of collaborating with people, and that's not something that's something that takes time. And, I love UX design. I love film. But right now my focus is on UX design. Film will come later, because I actually do want to get a master's in film, so I can teach and run an independent film company.
Love it. So kind of fast forwarding a little bit and thinking about our listeners and takeaways from this wonderful experience that you shared with us, can you share one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self, or that you would give to someone who might be facing a similar situation to yours?
Well, the advice I would give my younger self is you have to accept that this world isn't going to be the way you designed and imagined it, that things are going to shake you up, and they're not going to be smooth. But you can always change your mindset when those things happen. Instead of being shaken by a possible deportation, you begin to think about how you can start a new life at a new place and making the best of it. It seems like really, really like fluff and ideology, but really it's just, I would need to tell myself to change your mindset, and don't be so reactive to things when they are bad. Just take it in stride and always make the best of that situation, because you never know what blessings may come as a result of it.
That's great, and I think that's really important for our listeners to hear, because oftentimes we think we want to have that control as human beings. We want to have that control, and sometimes we just have to find the positive in the situation and just kind of flow with it, and continue to move forward and propel ourselves by trials and tribulations that we're going to continue to face in this journey.
Right.
So do you have any resources that you can share with our listeners that were useful to you, or that you've heard about, been connected to, that might be fruitful for them as well?
Well, for anyone who is interested in, design work or creative work, some very useful resources that, allowed me to expand my creativity and continue to expand my creativity are lynda.com. There you have tutorials on everything, and that's lynda.com. Udemy, Udemy, they have a lot of tutorials as well. And I cannot stress enough the importance of actually not being stuck behind the screen and actually going out and meet people. So there's an app called, what's this app called? It's escaping my mind. Meetup, MEETUP, meetup.com. I encourage anyone who's interested, even in not just creativity, but just in finding a group of people and stuff that interests you, whether you are a hiking enthusiast or filmmaking enthusiast or a cooking enthusiast. Look for a meetup group, and there's sure to be one that has an interest to you that you can join and meet and talk to people who share the same interests as you. And if there isn't one, you can just start one on your own and attract people, like-minded people, which is another good advice to have, is surround yourself with like-minded people, people who believe in your same values, who share your same drive. That will only keep you going.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing those resources. And now we'd love to hear more about any work that you're doing. Are you working on some projects right now that you'd like our listeners to learn about? And if so, how can we all stay connected to you and to the work that you're doing?
I'm still doing work with Tag Sounds. I didn't get to explain in the interview, but Tag Sounds is a group of DJs, international DJs, African international DJs, who play a wide variety of music, not just African music. But it's a group of DJs, and we throw events, not just parties. We're very active in the African community. So you can visit us at onetagnation.com to download a DJ mix if you want to hear your favorite artists. I'm sure we have a mix there for you. So I've moved into, I no longer DJ, and I've moved into more of an art director position for Tag Sounds, and look for a refresh of our website soon. And I know they have a 90s party that's going on soon. I'm not sure when the podcast will go up, but that might be irrelevant by then. But just look out for the website for future events. And I also collaborate and work with Hype Creative. That's HYPE creative.co. And they're a creative agency based here in the DC metropolitan area. And we do a series of things, photography, graphic design, web design, videography. I collaborate with them. We will be doing work for Fest Africa this year. We're doing video and photography for them. Look out for that. And I will be starting a blog soon. I don't know the name of the URL, so I can't give it out. But we'll be looking for it. The big announcement. So I'll be starting a blog soon, but you can keep tabs on me. You can follow my social media. It is my name, Sam, S-A-M, Adaramola, A-D-A-R-A-M-O-L-A _ So that's Sam, Adaramola _ and that's my Instagram and my Twitter, which will be where you'll find me most active. And
Wow, it sounds like you're doing a lot, Mr. Adaramola. We are excited to stay connected to you and with you. And we just want to thank you again for sharing your story, sharing your experience, and being so authentic in that. This has been a really moving discussion, and you just taught us a lot in terms of just really great takeaways from your experience and how to propel ourselves and move forward in our own experiences. Most specifically, just the idea that, again, you can't change your circumstance, but you can definitely change your mindset. So that's something I want our listeners to take with them as they continue to move along this journey. And I just want to thank you again for your time and your energy this evening.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a fun conversation. I'm happy to share that story. I haven't shared that story, outside of my close-knit friends. So it's new, and I'm hoping it's received well, and I hope it can encourage people to stay headstrong despite whatever they're going through.
Yeah, it was powerful. We thank you for that completely. So it's been really great having Sam Adaramola on the show. If there's a guest you'd like us to interview or any questions you want asked on subsequent shows, or you just want to say hello and leave an encouraging word, please post them on the Immigrant Experience with Nenelwa page on Facebook. That's our show for today. Special thanks to the creator and producer of this show, Adetoye Oremosu. The Immigrant Experience with Nenelwa is a weekly podcast, and I look forward to bringing you a brand new story with an exciting and phenomenal guest next week. Until then, keep winning.